And nobody's disciplined all the time. So I got to be careful on that because that can come off like I'm wearing a mask. I'm disciplined.
Yeah.
From sun up to sundown with my plow in the field and whatever. No.
That's every podcaster ever.
Right. I'm like disciplined for this amount of time in the morning.
Yeah.
That's what I got. And then I got to be free flow. I know I shut down when I have things on my schedule. I do not like being scheduled. I've done a lot of work on behavioral styles and human design. And
What are you?
in human design?
Yeah.
Manifester.
No way, dude. I'm a manifester too. You knew it?
Welcome back to the Authentic Identity Podcast. Blake Norton, Mitch Rose, and today we got Ryan Secrist, not Seacrest, Secrist.
Thanks for the...
When I heard his name thrown around at the office, I'm like, who's in the building now?
Well, you're a lot taller than Ryan Secrist, dude.
Yeah.
And a lot more handsome.
That dude's a hobbit like me.
Yes.
Short.
We have a life-size cutout floating around our house, and he's like under my armpit.
That's so funny.
He makes his way into closets, and
That's part of your like vision board. You're like, I'm better than him.
I'm better than him.
I'm taller than him too.
Yeah. Got one more category to pass him in. Wealth and
But yeah, we got Ryan on today because Ryan he's from Utah originally, right? Northern Utah, and then has been around and done pretty much real estate all over the country. And when he came back to St. George, he started working with the agency St. George. That's his broker, and I built a relationship with them. And immediately when me and Ryan got connected for doing headshots, we immediately clicked, and it was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be a good relationship.
It was like an hour later, we're like, oh, we probably should take some pictures.
Yeah.
Talking life.
Yep. And then, and then it's been how many months now since you've been back?
I've been here for 18 months, and I think I met you last October.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then, he's just been working, building new relationships, building a whole new clientele. And so far he's been moved up to my number one clients. So
that's awesome.
He's crushing it.
Well, it's fun to work with you.
Yeah.
So
it's good to have you. And like you have the honor of being the first guest on the podcast. So
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, man. I mean, literally there's no...
Yeah, that's
no ads to follow.
Pressure is all about.
Yeah.
It's zero pressure.
Yeah, it's chill.
Sweet. Well, it's good to be here.
Thanks, man. Well, in honor of Jared, we're smoking his favorite stogie today, just the Olivia O series, just a standard great cigar. But we are looking for sponsors too, so Olivia, get on it, man. Like we're gonna get so many sponsors, dude. Like we're gonna get all the sponsors. If we smoke enough cigars, people are gonna sponsor us.
Has to be a staple every podcast.
Yeah, it's branding, and it's also just like my addiction. So
yeah, that's fair.
If you can get an addiction with branding capabilities, that's what it's really all about, right?
Well said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Enjoy.
Yeah. But it's not quite an addiction. I smoke once a week, maybe twice if I have some social stuff. But I found you said, Ryan, you like the smell of cigars.
I do like the smell of cigars.
Yeah. What's your history with cigars, if you don't mind us?
I really know nothing, but I've traveled a lot for business, and so I've been around a lot of people that have smoked cigars, and I've always liked cigarettes, but the smell of cigars. I'm kind of that way with the smell of coffee too. It's just like there's certain aromas. I'm a super visual, tactile, and sensory kind of person. So
yeah,
when Mitch said we're smoking cigars, I'm like, smoke away.
Well, that's good. Ooh, these are good. And these are good mid-range. They're still considered premium cigars, so they're handmade, hand rolled, like everything that a premium cigar has. Pure tobacco, right? No additives that make it addictive or anything, like more than it naturally is. I mean, nicotine's pretty addictive. But you know what's more addictive than nicotine? The most addictive substance on the planet. Guess what it is?
Caffeine.
No, close.
Okay.
It's on the list. Sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from the
total
sugar cane,
sense.
yeah. It's from a cane plant, you know. We got like cocaine.
Yeah.
We got Narcan. We got sugar cane. So we're just giving that to little kids all the time. Just like, here's an Airhead, buddy. Here's a 32-ounce Slurpee, 2-year-old. And they're like,
why are you bouncing off the walls at 7 o'clock? I have 3 kids, so maybe you just explain my parenting problem.
Why are you autistic and have ADHD? Like, because you're a drug addict at 2 years old, you know? But anyway, yeah, but thanks for being here, Ryan. This is dope.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to unpack your story, figure out who you are at this moment, obviously, because that changes as life goes on. And like, how many versions of you have there been, you know, in your mind? And like, you've had the front row seat for your journey.
Yeah.
But like, I think it was Jefferson Rogers we were talking about once, but it's like, there's other people have said this, but he told me it. That was the first time I heard it. There's like, every time you meet somebody, like a version of you exists in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that guy that you yelled at the gas station, you know, because he took your spot, like the guy that you know, gave a high five to at a random mosh pit in 1993, you know, whatever year. That guy knows you as that guy, like that guy. Mm-hmm. So that there's like many versions of you. There's like thousands of versions of yourself in other people's minds, but you always, as a, you know, as oneself, we always have a front row seat to that. Like you're you, right? So obviously if you're paying attention, I think a lot of people are not paying attention to like who they are.
Yeah.
They just kind of go through life and kind of, that was like my thing for a couple, you know, up until I was like 26, I was just what other people wanted me to be, but I wasn't ever me. So I kind of want to dive in and unpack this. So you obviously real estate
for 18 years.
18 years.
Yep. 4 state licenses, 5 markets, including St. George. So haven't had the normal real estate career.
So you're a true pro then.
I don't know if I'd classify myself as that. I'm figuring some things out. Life's a journey, that's for sure.
That's always
so
true.
I do have fun. It is my art, my craft. I grew up in a real estate family in northern Utah, so definitely has been in my life. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. And you mentioned before, but you're from Utah.
Yes,
Farmington area.
Farmington, yep.
That's close to Salt Lake. If you're listening. But then you said you haven't lived in Utah until now. Like, how long have you been back?
Yeah. So my summer of my junior year in high school, I took a trip to New York, and that was the first time I'd ever been on an airplane. I had my 18th birthday in New York.
Oh, sick.
And when we landed back in Salt Lake, I mean, full disclosure, I'm kind of a very transparent person. So I landed back in Salt Lake, and I felt like at that time, that was the summer of my junior year, so 1992. Your reference to mosh pits in 93 did not fall flat on me. and I just felt like Utah was too small. I just had gotten a taste of the world, and I had bigger sights than staying local at that time. So it's kind of cool because I feel like, you know, I kind of jokingly say Utah had to grow up a bit, and I had to grow up a bit. We just were reunited a year and a half ago, and it's been pretty awesome. So I'm so happy to be here. I love it. And when people complain about things here, I'm like, dude, I upgraded my problems.
Yeah.
If that's our biggest worry, sign me up.
Dude, I'm going to stop bitching.
Yeah,
seriously.
There's no reason.
Seriously.
Man. It's the best place.
I'm like, drivers are so slow here. And isn't it awesome?
It's great.
Isn't it great? I'm going below the speed limit.
Yeah. California.
I'm not trying to rip somebody's head off.
Well, especially the reaction time you built in LA, or not LA, but California, right? The reaction time you built driving on those freeways, like you're like a fucking ninja now.
Totally. Well, I was just out there, and I had an event to go to in Palos Verdes, and a friend of mine and a real estate friend from Canada, we found out we were just happened to be in LA at the same time. And I said, hey, I'm going to the launch of some great friends of mine. By the way, it's currently listed. It's amazing. $35 million on the cliffs of Palos Verdes, where I used to live. So she's like, oh, I'll just come down, meet you at your hotel, and we'll go out there together. And I'm like, great. Where are you coming from? And she never responded to that. And later in a text chat, I was like, okay, but where are you coming from? And then while I'm waiting for her at the hotel, she doesn't show up. I'm like, where are you? And she's like, oh, I've been in the cab or Uber for about an hour. I'm at Marina Del Rey, and I'm in Redondo Beach. And I'm like, I'll meet you there, and we'll see you in about an hour and a half. So yes, it's true. You just govern everything off freeways and routes. And
what's closed.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because when someone cuts you off in California, like it happens like, boom, like they're not messing around. They're aggressive.
Yeah.
But here, an old lady cuts you off. Like, you're like, oh, is this happening?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, let me send a text message first. Like,
You park your car and get out and hug her. Yeah. It's all good. We're friends. You're on my Christmas card list.
that's so funny. But yeah, I'm going to coin that phrase. I think Utah does, in some ways, they still need to grow up a little bit. But like the fact that I can't get cigars shipped to my house, Utah.
Yeah, I know. I was in Paso Robles and I was like, all these wineries we were touring, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, dude, if I can get this wine, because like, you know, I'm tasting all these different ones. I'm like, I can just ship this shit to my house. And they're like, oh yeah. They were like, oh yeah, you can't, like, Utah's not one of the states we'll ship it to. And I'm like, where else can I, you know what I mean?
Can I pick it up in Mesquite, Nevada?
Yeah, that's how I was like, take it to Lee's Liquor.
Yeah, exactly.
Mesquite, and I'll pick it up there. But I was like, it sucks not being able to have
it's like
that.
it's a small, like, suck. It's like,
Yeah, I know, whatever.
but yeah, it's small. It's a small trade-off for like how great Utah is, right?
Yeah,
It's
If
true.
you're outdoors minded, place to be. Like we were just in Zion with her family,
Amazing.
with Mal's family. It's so amazing out
I
there,
just
man.
feel...
Oh, sorry, Moab, Zion. They're all the same to me.
Oh yeah, you were in Moab. I saw you
Yeah.
smoking that cigar, and I knew that back drop.
Yep.
It's like the Colorado like kind of runs into that, but I was like, oh, they're in Moab.
Exactly.
But dude, Moab's sick too.
All of
Slept
Utah.
on little town. It's kind of like Springdale
Yeah.
a little bit, which is Zion National Park, but the town has exploded. Real estate is hot.
Yeah. But I
right
feel like
there.
they maintained their original, like I just was
Yeah.
there and I felt like I hadn't been there in 25 years. And I felt like
really?
even though it had grown, it still had its authenticity.
Yeah.
At least I felt that way. So I don't know.
That's kind of like what we're going for with this podcast and with like life. It's like, are you still you, even though you've grown?
Yeah.
That's a good little metaphor
I like it.
bring up. Yeah. I just had to tie that in. I just had,
Nicely
yeah,
done.
you give me some laces, I'll tie a knot.
I see that. I see that. Good yin and yang here. That's great.
Okay. So in New York, 18 years old, you left Utah, did some growing up. You got a taste of the world. It sounds like you said you've lived in a lot of places too.
I have. So got married in Chicago, married someone from Chicago who never lived in Utah until now. And we've lived Chicago, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Denver, Bay Area most recently, and now here. And I've traveled extensively for like last year I did about 22 weeks on the road.
Yeah.
So I've been in a lot of cities, working with a lot of people, and lived in a lot of places.
Yeah. And that
He does a ton of coaching and stuff as
That's
well
right.
in the real estate. He
Yeah.
does a bunch of at his, I don't really know the whole breakdown, but the previous broker that he was with, he had a whole selling system. But yeah, he's done tons of speaking and tons of
That's awesome.
coaching. He still does coaching, but
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram bio. So you're coaching.
Yeah.
Do you do like physical, like fitness training too? Is that
I just
the vibe I got?
Well, my story in athletics is I grew up in a really athletic family. I mean, my brother's been a coach here at Snow Canyon High School, the baseball coach for, I think he said 21 years this year.
Wow.
So, I mean, my family was all sports. That was definitely our religion growing up. And I didn't fit into traditional sports. You know, talking about starting to lose your authentic self. You're trying to like that's what your family's identity is. And you're learning at a young age. You don't realize it until you grow older and look back. You're trying to like stay in with what's acceptable in the family, but I sucked.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was out planting a garden in left field in baseball while I have this prodigy brother who went on to play pro baseball. So, you know, the line drive comes at me and I think I was screaming out there. I didn't know what to do, you know.
funny.
This has never happened before.
I'm my garden. Yeah. So, you know, I started biking. My dad was really intense in sports and I started road biking. And he would come to my races. I had super supportive parents, and he'd take me to a steak dinner after in Salt Lake, and he'd be like, I need you to explain what was going on. I was like, I think we got this good thing going here that you don't know my sport. You can only just come and cheer me on. He's like, no, I can tell there's strategy happening down there on,
like,
on the race course. And I'm like, I think that's just for me to know and you and I to hug it out. But we're not going to go there, man. So I had this great little dynamic with my dad, but I rode bikes for about 25 years.
Yeah.
I had a nasty crash in 2015 that messed me up a bit. And going about 45 miles an hour on a descent, no cell coverage.
Road bike.
Bloody heap on the side of the road in the San Gabriel Mountains in Los Angeles County.
Wow.
And after that, I just never I still love mountain biking. I'm a dog that needs to be walked, so I like the outdoors. I love it here. But I started weightlifting.
Nice.
And I had never darkened the door of a gym, but I hired this coach who was out there in his philosophies at the time. And it was, he just was very direct. A friend of mine had results from him, and he said, it's going to be spiritual. It's going to be fitness. It's weightlifting. It's bodybuilding, and it's going to be business. And it's going to be nutrition. It's the whole person. I can't get you or support you where you need to go in business unless we address all these pillars. But he's like, I only know to coach to bodybuilding. So I remember walking into 24-hour fitness in Torrance and was like, wow, look at these machines. What do you do with them? I had no clue.
What is this?
I'd never darkened the door of a gym. So anyway, thus began my journey. And I went from 170 at 6'5" to about right now I'm about 232.
Holy smokes.
So I'm not the same person. My before and afters are quite different.
Yeah. Wow. 6'5", 170, man.
Yeah.
Like a windy day, you'd disappear.
Totally.
You'd be gone.
Totally gone.
Yeah.
I see pictures. It's wild. Yeah.
It is wild.
And now you're bulked out. Yeah. You look like a former Navy SEAL or something. You know?
Yeah. I wish in Secret Life.
Now he's turned into a stallion.
Yeah. A stallion.
People ask me if I was a pro football player, and that cracks me up. I'm like, no, I was in left field planting a garden, man.
Yeah.
So
It's all show, no go. That's me, dude.
Yeah.
When I was doing bodybuilding, and everyone's like, how much you bench? I'm like, I don't. I just all show, dude. That was all I cared about when I was doing the bodybuilding stuff. It was just like, how can I just get size? And like, I cared about zero athletic ability at that point. Like, I had tore my ACL in football and stuff. And so I was just like overdoing any sort of, agility drills. And because that fitness culture, they love pushing like, oh, jump on the, like do these
the plyometric stuff. Yeah.
1 foot. And
This guy's ready for parkour.
But yeah, I was just like all about bodybuilding only, but it's nice to look good,
Yeah.
It does feel good.
Dude, when people ask me, they're like, how much do you bench? And I'm like, the whole game. I'm on the bench.
The
whole game.
The whole game.
I probably bench more than you.
That's funny.
The whole game, man. So that's cool. The athletic back. I mean, you get if you have an athletic family where the athletic, like you said, it was your religion almost, right?
Yeah.
Where it's that centric. The pressure's just on.
On.
So it's kind of cool. I wanted to unpack something you said about your dad, because part of like being your authentic self, we talk about this often, but it's like unpacking all the social conditioning, all the conditioning from your family, religions, or whatever it is, to really like find out who you are and what you like, what aspects you want to keep with you as you keep going. But your dad, so like the pressure, because you said you've had some successful brothers in sports.
Yeah.
That was your thing. So you wouldn't let your dad learn the strategy of bike racing. So
I can't hear you say that without smiling. I think that's so awesome. Yeah. At a young age, I'd put that barrier up.
It's a boundary, right?
Yeah.
And so I love it when younger people are like, when people like know how to establish a boundary, because a lot of people with trauma, with other things, they have no boundaries. They don't know how to do it.
Correct.
And so they get taken advantage of, or they say yes to everything, or they just find themselves in shitty situations because no boundaries, right? So like, what age were you when you put that boundary up?
Oh, dude, that's a loaded question. So, because it's a tapestry of experience. So there's the dad but what I started to get addicted to was overachieving. Because there was chaos at home. So if I could overachieve, then I would actually make everyone happy, because now we had this great thing to celebrate.
So was it like validation and praise and love, like everything you wanted?
So it's like being elected to something. And, like in my history of one of my schools, I was student body president. So there was that, and then that election piece and all of that meant everyone's happy. I mean, that's stuff I'm genuinely interested in, but there's this layer that you don't even know. It's conditioning. Yeah. You're a kid just trying to survive, right?
It's like subconscious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, so I think with that layer, with growing up in northern Utah, and I call it, I'm very much into like Carl Jung, and his contemporaries now are like James Hollis and Richard Rohr, and first half, second half of life. And the first half, it is checklists and frameworks. And like, if I'm an overachiever, then I'm going to take that framework and I'm going to run it right into the sunset.
Yeah.
But I'm going to run myself right into the ground.
Yeah. At your expense, right? Usually that's what comes with overachieving.
For sure.
So that overachieving, I'll let you keep going, but you were unpacking that's where it came from.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of it. And then I'm very, now I think it's my secret weapon, but I was very bullied in school and sometimes worried about my life. So it's like I was going to a threatening environment all day at school, and I was coming home to something that I wouldn't call it threatening, but was unstable. So there's nothing in my childhood that actually has, other than moments of peace and happiness. We did have a house in a forest in the mouth of a canyon, and a lot of my happy time in my memories is on my own, out in the forest, building something or creating something.
That's awesome.
So I anchored pretty early on that I was a creator. And even though there was a lot of negativity and kind of low vibe and energy around me, there was something in me that has always known there was more out there. Kind of that's like, I think the story of New York to Utah almost as a metaphor. Like there was something in me that always thought there was more abundance out there. There was
something more for you. Like I think when people say that, I think of how I would perceive it. And it's like, there's other pieces of myself that I haven't uncovered.
Yes.
But they're out there. Yeah. They're not here.
Well said.
Yeah.
And I think other people saw those pieces and brought them to me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing.
Well, I didn't get clear on that till you just said that. So thank you for that.
Oh, sure.
But there's, I can see pillars of the right people in my life at the right time. And I knew that at the time, I can name them. I knew that at the time, but I think when I was ready to do the work personally, more as I moved into second half, now those people have really become a source of strength for me in a new way. You're like, gosh, in some cases we're talking, I'm 49. So in some cases,
you're 49.
I'm 49.
Dude, you look like
crazy.
I thought
you were like
36.
I thought he was like maybe.
You two are my favorite people ever.
Actually, I changed it. I changed it.
You didn't know that?
No.
That's funny. I've been hanging out with an old guy, dude.
I changed my mind. I thought he was 26.
He's got the California look and age.
He does, yeah, dude. It's
Dude,
vitality.
I'm heading into the bro talk years.
The bro talk. Oh, you have your vitality, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you go to hell and back a couple times in your life. It tends to either rise you up or sink you.
Yeah.
And I probably sunk me before I rose up.
That's true, dude. There's like a polarity to life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people choose comfort over that polarity, right?
Yeah.
They choose. It's not comfortable. Like this is probably like the disclaimer we should continue on if every episode. Like it's just not comfortable to find out who you are.
Not at all.
Because it requires pain. It requires that like polarity.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what we want to unpack. But like, so that pain you were talking about, and then that was your childhood. But when did you set that boundary where you're like, I'm not letting my dad near this sport because it'll ruin it for me?
Yeah, it would have been in my early 20s. I was in college by the time I was bike racing. So I did go to school down here for a couple of years, and that's when I got into mountain biking and then road biking when I left. And so, but I wasn't doing that in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
I started to tell you my sixth sense I think I have now, which is my strength. But when I'm living in two worlds that are feeling a bit threatening or unstable, I could read a room like nobody's business because I was worried if I was going to get bullied or not. So if somebody walks into a room, I've got to be able to read their vibe, and I've got to know if that's a person I can be threatened. Am I going to be threatened by that person?
Yeah, survival kind of instinct.
Yeah, so that served a purpose for survival, and now I think it's my sixth sense superhero business sense. Like I can walk in a room and just observe in a second, and I'm pretty accurate nowadays, but
yeah, as the conversation evolves, you get more data. You're like
behavioral style.
You almost don't even need to have a conversation with somebody though to like you can just feel.
You can feel their energy.
Like everybody has their own vibrational field, and I feel like just being close to somebody who has a skewed vibration or an off vibration,
yeah,
like you can feel it just like in the air. But obviously, conversation helps.
You may not know specifics, but you walk away and you're like, "Oh, that was interesting exchange. That was a little off."
Yeah.
I don't know what his story is, but something's off there. So, I've worked really hard to kind of get out of the checklists and the frameworks of my first half. And when you grow up in a strong religious community too, your community is telling you like this, and you want to be part of the community, right? You're 12. Yeah. You're like, you want to have somebody say, well, that's not normal. And I've always been big, like in a personality, and I'm abstract creative in my thinking. And so I learned pretty quick to like keep all that within frameworks.
Yeah.
That wasn't really an organization or a family, or nobody's intending to do that. It's just a byproduct of how our societies are set up. So
totally.
So
yeah, it's in every culture, I think, to some degree.
How has those dark times shaped you to realize the things that you want, the things that were important in your life to obviously get you where you are now? Because I feel like you're absolutely thriving. We've talked about it. You feel like more aligned with your inner being more than ever right now. So like, how has those dark times opened your eyes to what you want? And then obviously being able to allow for those things to come into your life that you want.
Yeah, great question. So thanks for asking that. I teach your question even got me emotional. That's wild. So thanks for that, man.
You're welcome.
You should see our photo shoots. Actually,
me and Ryan
it's a little
talk.
bit of, it's a little bit of take some pictures and then philosophize on life. So we get fast history here. But so I teach a natural. I'm really fortunate to coach a lot of business people in real estate, and I'm fascinated by human beings. I think by nature we are absolutely amazing, and that amazing comes with really dark corners. And so often there's a moment that everyone's vibing, and I'm into energy, and I can feel it in the room. And I'll make mention that if we went around and everybody could tell their story, we would be blown away by the capacity of the human spirit in this room. So fundamentally, it's funny that you're in front of a group and you're sharing and helping people kind of break through to the next level. And you realize you've got your own story. And maybe that's why you're in front of that room, is to help other people through. So I think now I'm in a chapter of how do I provide significance to the world? Because I've been put in these positions to help other people through. And that's because I've actually been to hell and back. Or a phrase I often use is I've had my teeth kicked in a few times. And a lot of that's my own doing, right? Me making my own choices. And so I've had some really dark, we bought a business in Northern California, and we got in business with the wrong person. And then we got in business with the wrong person behind that. COVID hit. Kids are homeschooled. I don't have a job. I just walked away from everything financially to leave this business and get out of this partnership. And COVID hits 2 months later after we, exited that. And I don't have a job. I'm living in one of the most expensive zip codes in the country. And I just turned something on. I found people were looking for meaning, and simultaneously I'm starting down my darkest path because I'm spread thin. I'm stressed. and then I get in business with somebody that's the wrong person again. And in Southern California, and we didn't want to move down there because our kids wouldn't have a place to make friends and all that. And so I'm going back and forth. So my wife's single parenting 3 teenagers in Northern California, and Monday through Thursday, I'm in San Diego County, and I'm miserable. So, those are really, really dark season, and 2 bad business relationships. And you look up and you're like, I'm not thriving. So I fortunately had a friend from my childhood that came back into my life. We were working on a coaching program for business people together. And she told me about a therapy style called AEDP. And I just felt something in me. I vibe things, and I was like, I need to look for somebody. And I found AEDP, accelerated experiential D you can make up because I can't remember, and I can't remember.
Okay. But Deuteronomy,
I feel like I've heard
Deuteronomy and Proverbs on the D.
Accelerated, euthanized Deuteronomy Proverbs.
Perfect. AEDP. Now I got to go look it back up again. But there was a lot of some trauma stuff from my childhood. There was it's like the way I would describe it, and then really getting to answer your question, because I don't think I can answer that without some background. The way I would describe it is my first half of life, I was in my checklists and I was accumulating, and I see myself visually as a magnet. Like I'm just the car, the house, the whatever else it is, whatever your community kind of values. And it's all just almost attaching to you like a blob. And then all of a sudden you're just weighed down, and you're like, I thought that's what would make me happy, but I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. And,
so do you think those bad business relationships or those things happen for a reason?
Oh my gosh.
And yes. How grateful are you for those,
massive,
to open your eyes?
Massive. I can't even imagine now where I stand not having those. I almost like those awful business relationships. I almost would thank them I made my own choices and participated in the dynamic, so I own that shit. But on the flip side, like, that's been the thing that's actually elevated me. But I've always had something in me that can't stop. So I seek people out. I seek help. I find this therapist that specializes in AEDP, that my friend is a therapist in the Midwest. And that's her specialty. And that was an incredible journey. So I've had coaches. I'm open about therapy. I mean, we've done couples therapy throughout our marriage. We've got an amazing couples therapist right now. And we're proud of that. Like, anything that is valuable in life takes work. But if you were to ask me, from all the teeth kicked in dark moments, and there's some dark moments, then what means the most to me, or what would I hope my kids see? And that their dad never gives up. And there are moments in those dark moments where you're about to,
right?
But I still didn't. And so I always want to be clear with people that even when you feel like you are, but you don't, that's actually a victory.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a big win.
It feels, I don't know. I mean, St. George has been a place of healing. Our family has been able to come back together. It's the right place for us to grow. And I've made some massive changes to address those things from my past. And it feels like they're all working towards some greater good in this second half. And, a thought leader once was talking about impressionist paintings, and we were in Paris, and I was looking at some Monet paintings, and I'd remembered this thought about, you get up close to them, they don't mean anything, right? But you start backing away and you start getting how that art all comes together. And so I don't know where I stand today. I think I'm humble enough in my journey to say, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what all those dots are in the impressionist painting, but where I stand now, all those past dots are good ones and bad ones. Yeah. And they're part of the whole painting. That's the whole Ryan. It's like,
they're making sense now.
They're making sense.
You see the purpose that they served.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that while you're in it. Right.
Oh, you can't see past the end of your nose.
No.
Let me follow up with this question. Yeah. What do you feel like you were put on this earth to do? Why are you here?
Dude, I've gotten so clear on that. And my true north is my wife and my kids, period. So everything gets filtered through before. But in the first half, it was, I got to work late because I'm paying for their braces, or I'm putting food on the table. And now it's the shift to answer that is, no, their priority, and I'm a work in progress on that, but their priority. And now everything filters through that. So I'm noticing everything's coming to me versus I'm going out and getting it. And that's a massive life energy switch where there's no more hunting. It's like, I'm planted, the right things find their way to me, but those are my true north. But it's my industry. It's people, it's being of significance. And I would say ultimately the clarity I have around it is helping people step into their best lives, taking my journey and opening people's minds, however that looks, whether it's a real estate coaching program, one-on-one conversations, but it's really helping people step into their best selves. We are all wearing masks, including me. And so I think what you guys are doing, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm happy to sit down, but it's going to be a lifelong process to pull the mask down.
Oh man.
But I'm in.
Yeah. Dude,
not afraid of it.
This is awesome. Like, you just hit so many things that just hit me in the chest right there. But like St. George, I agree. I think we all agree St. George is pretty special.
It is.
Like I moved here as well with Mal. She came back to St. George, but it is a place of healing for myself. With a lot of things like that hit me like a truck. You just said that, but it's funny how you say masks, because we have a client. We just did an audiobook for her. Her name's Jane Williams. She's got her book coming out, but it's called Simple Jane. It's just her like memoir about life and her upbringing and how like kind of the death of innocence kind of affected her. And then, but she talks about all these masks that she's worn throughout her life. And it's a great little book, but it's so true. Like, we're just constantly putting on these faces to be a certain way or to do a certain thing. And it's like, as soon as you find your authentic self, like that's like your purpose, right? Mitch, that's a great question, Mitch. And now you're not hunting anymore. You're just sitting back because the universe is feeding that power. It's like you're resonating.
You have to go make money to go, pay for braces. I get to.
And you start to detach from outcomes. Like, I'm in real estate. So if I'm sitting with a seller and the energy is that they're wanting me to grovel for the business. This has been my art and craft for 18 years. Like, I think you're an amazing human. You got this great asset. I believe I'm the conduit to help connect somebody new to start their new chapter there. but I will not grovel for the business.
Yeah. And I'm replaceable. Like someone else could fill this role. Yeah. Groveling is huge in any sales environment, any type, when you're trying to attract business.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Grovel is like on your hands and knees begging. Like you would grovel before a king as he's like got his life in your hands, kind of a thing. So
I'm always learning vocabulary, especially from him.
Need and power, right? Yeah. Like the seller says, you prove to me that I need to list, you should be the one to list my house. But I'm like, wait, I'm there under the energy. Let's see, this is a shift in my business where I'm seeking to see if you're, what's the right word? Like
you got to prove it to you.
The door swings both ways.
It does.
Yeah. Like that's what I love about Ryan is because he fucking came in big dick swinging and all these people are like, oh, or you can list this new construction, which they're clearing a fuck ton of money on anyways. They're clearing, they got investors, whatever, but they're coming to obviously any agent. Yeah. Can you do it for 1.5% or 2%? And Ryan's like, absolutely not. He stakes, no, I am worth 3% and it's because of this. And dude, every house, it's staged, every house, he gets the most amount of photos, videos, any sort of marketing asset for the house to market it in the best possible way. He gets it. And that's where the value is. And that's why he has a killer success rate. But that's where the value is. Like if an agent's asking for 3%, do your fucking job. Yeah. And that's what he does. He does the job, does it the right way, markets the right way, sets expectations the right way. And that's what I like admire about him is he's so talented at that. And then again, like tell the story about how like he texted me and he's like, dude, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for those photos. And he's like, they tried to come back and renegotiate. And I said, fuck no, but how did that story go down?
Which one?
One of the builders.
Well, two things. Number one is I surround myself by the right people. I've just learned there's people that are smarter than me in the room. And that's him with Mitch, with media. So, yeah. So, I mean, I had this big developer that has landed in St. George and they're like, we've never paid an agent that much in commission. And I do think this ties to the journey of dark places math. When you get really comfortable in who you are and you know your purpose, you're not attached to an outcome because like you were saying, things come to you. So I just said, guys, this is what it is. Like I've presented my value. You either see it or you don't. And I think it's been amazing to get to know you. But if we decide not to get in a business together, I want to be clear that I look for partnerships. I'm not interested in energy dynamics where the need power dynamic is unequal.
Yeah.
To me, I'm expert at marketing and selling homes and getting you to your next chapter. And, this is your home and you make the decisions. I bring the process. But at the end of the day, like I'm not interested I'm looking for a partner. So if we feel like this doesn't work, no harm, no foul, but I am 6%. And they came back and said, you've beat out the other agents. And we've worked with agents and we've listed in major cities all over the West Coast. And we've never paid an agent 6%. And so no pressure on my part to get the household now, but anyway,
that's awesome, dude.
What I admire though, is because in this market today, the way the market is going, every agent will, okay, I'll do it for 2.
Yeah.
I'll do it for this. They always undervalue themselves and then they end up getting all of the things that come with that, which is shitty homeowners, all the things that come with somebody asking for a less price for something. They expect more, even if, and whereas again, now him asking for 6%, he's the expert. It goes by his way. You do what he says because he's the expert. And that's same thing with media. Like I'm glad we have this partnership because again, my prices are not the cheapest. But again, I deliver on what he wants.
Do we ever talk about money or the fee?
No,
or never?
No. He's never asked me
ever.
Once. Yeah. Well, but he knows because he knows he's confident that he can do his job.
Yeah.
I'm confident that my job is going to give him part of that success. So it's like a good partnership.
He helps me get paid.
Exactly. And let me just add on the caboose to the admiration train. Because I admire Mitch for the same exact reasons you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the people that work with Mitch, I've heard that from 2 or 3 of your clients. Jefferson Rogers has said that. You've just said it now. And I can't remember who else has said it, but we don't talk to Mitch about price. We don't even care.
Don't care.
Because we know he's a pro. And I'm like, wow. And what you guys just said, this is what me and Mal have needed to hear, I guess. because we're in that stage as a business where people are like, we've grown and we got new clients coming in and we got, new things to do. And it's hard to like, tell people your value and like stand on that if they've known you for a while. Right. So it's like, new relationships, new expectations need to be set. And those are all growing pains. It's super stressful, right? Especially because we're a service-based podcasting company. Yeah. So we're in the same media arena as Mitch, but there's so many niche specialties. Like me and Mitch, we're actually partnering up, obviously for the podcast, but we're going to join forces in some manner. And it looks like it's going to be social media strategies and other things like that. We're super fucking stoked. I'm stoked. Are you stoked?
I'm pumped to see where you guys take this. This is awesome.
Are you stoked as me? I think I'm more stoked than you.
I'm trying to get Ryan on board too, but he's in a transitional phase.
Well, this feels like I've been hanging out with friends today, so I'm in. But I feel like it's all connected, man. Like in the circle of this entire conversation, I feel like when you get really clear on who you are, and I don't think you can get there without you taking all those kind of blobs that attach the whole, and you need help and you got to get somebody to take it off. But then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, I'm more on purpose in my marriage. I'm more on purpose in my business. I'm more on purpose in
intentional.
Intentionality is where it's at. But you start.
Sometimes the bank account doesn't reflect that.
No, there's a period it does not. It doesn't.
That's where we're at right now. We're like looking at our bank account. We're like, we look at each other. We're like, man, our marriage has never been better. Like I'm home with my dogs right now. I'm on purpose. You just resonated with me, dude. Like, whew.
Well, I've just coming out. I've just launched in for my 5th time in a and I'm teach people how to do this, and I had 7 months of nothing.
Yeah,
and I was like looking in the mirror, going, "Well, here's a phony guy." I travel around the world and tell people, here's how you can have abundance. And I'm like, I can't even close a deal in Utah.
Yeah.
It took some time, though. You got to plant seeds, dude. It takes fucking time.
Yeah.
It takes time.
That's good, dude. Thank you. I didn't know this was going to be a therapy session for myself. And my
well, it's because we're all on the same journey in different ways.
But do you mind if I bring it into some sales aspects? Because this abundance where you're planted and you're no longer hunting. Like, I mean, you're still open and you're prospecting. You're not being lazy.
It's
just
attracting.
Being like, universe, give me shit. You're like, it's just attracting the right people. So your actions are you're still taking action. You're still disciplined. You're still routine, right?
Very.
And like, that's the same thing I would teach with like our sales guys. I came from a sales environment with Jefferson Rounder. You just talked to him today.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah. And so that little team, like I unlocked so much of myself with that window company here locally. It was awesome. But I could tell I'd go out and do a pitch with like a new guy, right? He's out there knocking doors and I'm his closer. So he's setting for me and he's not doing too well. So we go out and knock and then I watch him do like 5 doors and I'm like, he's like, yeah, nothing's working, man. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, how much is in your bank account right now? And he's like, oh no. I'm like, give me an exact number. Like pull it up on your phone. I'm like, we're brothers here. I'm going to make you more money than you've ever had in your life. So like, what's in it? He's like $13 and like 35 cents or whatever.
Holy shit.
And I was like, stop talking. Like, stop talking from a place of $13 and 35 cents.
A place of lack.
I'm like, you're desperate.
Yep.
I'm like, push that out of your mind. Like, just see if you can help the next person with something. It doesn't even have to be a sale.
Yeah.
Like they might just need their garbage cans taken out. Just ask them. And so, he asked, but like nothing like eventful happened. This isn't a story that would make the LDS ensign, so, but it was just like, I got mouth cracking up over there. But it just changed his mindset. So over a couple of days, he worked at it and then I'm like, stop preaching or talking from $13 and start just avoid the outcome. And that's
pro tips on
pushing that out of your mind. Let's open it up to everybody. Like, when you were there 7 months and you had that imposter syndrome, how did you push that lack aside?
I am disciplined. Even in my dark moments, I'm not as disciplined, but there's that stirring for that discipline. And nobody's disciplined all the time. So I got to be careful on that because that can come off like I'm wearing a mask. I'm disciplined.
Yeah.
From sun up to sundown with my plow in the field and whatever. No.
That's every podcaster ever.
Right. I'm like disciplined for this amount of time in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what I got. And then I got to be free flow. I know I shut down when I have things on my schedule. I do not like being scheduled. I've done a lot of work on behavioral styles and human design and
what are you?
In human design?
Yeah.
Manifester.
No way, dude. I'm a manifester too. You can do it?
I love human design. Dude, I'm new to it.
It changed my life. We did it like 3 months ago. Changed my life.
I've just stepped into that path, and I felt like more than anything that
you're the
whatever you call it, assessment or whatever. And I've got a friend who's certified in it that's going to bring me through it. But
I thought like 3 times as he was talking.
Like 12 other people, you're the only other manifestor other than
we're 9% of the population.
Yeah.
We're weirdos. It's awesome.
Weirdos, yeah.
I own it and I love it.
Yeah,
I'm texting you. You got to take it.
Yeah, we'll do another episode with you on that.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
We got a lot. We could keep going for the next 5 hours.
We're going to have you back. Yeah.
Life's a journey. So anyway.
Discipline was your answer.
Discipline and to a system. And so there is a real estate system for generating the business, but it is about authenticity and relationships. They don't even call it lead generation. They call it flow. It's picking up the phone and saying, hey, Blake, you're on my mind. How are you?
Yeah,
but it
an
won't work
call.
unless I'm authentic.
Yeah.
And so, but I am. Because I've dealt with my shit, I can show up authentic.
Exactly. That's
so people feel that energy, and I have deep relationships, and I only need 100 people in my database because they all know 100 people. Yeah. So if I just stay in relationship and I call on birthdays and I do handwritten notes and I'm showing up at sporting events for their kids or whatever.
Sometimes like spontaneous stuff. Like you'll just be like, I need to call Tony or whoever.
Well, I definitely am into quantum energy and fields. And so that whole comes to mind, then I need to pick up the phone and call.
Dude, she watches me do that all the time. I'm just like, she's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, oh, some guy I thought about like 5 years ago.
Yep.
And then it's a former Marine. So I'm like, what's up, motherfucker, bitch? Shit. He's like, yeah.
And almost every time that happens, and it's not why I do it, but every time it happens, they're like, hey, my mom has a condo in St. George and I need to
call you.
Yeah, and we don't even talk about real estate.
Thinking about you too. Kind of that. Yeah.
It's magic. So I think but I started, the self-doubt is there and all that starts cycling through, but I'm like, I'm going to, back to the discipline. I'm just going to stay to this program that promises me this result.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay on it because I know it's worked in the past. It's worked for others, and the floodgates do open.
That's awesome, dude.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure, guys.
Hey, likewise. We'll get you out here so you can go help your son out. But
parenting is always one inch from me.
Thanks for
as it should
coming on last minute as well.
Yeah,
appreciate you, Ryan. He's a fucking stud.
He is, man.
Thank you. Seriously, stoked to have you
Good
on,
to be here.
and can't wait to do another one.
Yeah, that's a wrap. So Authentic Identity, thanks for joining us. We'll get Jared. Jared's out of town right now. We have not forgot about him, so don't worry about it. But again, Ryan, thank you. And
my pleasure.
Mallory, thank you for being on the controls.
You guys are awesome.
And you guys have a wonderful Halloween.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that was awesome. Dude, awesome. Hello, Matt.